What's going on, guys? It's Fight Season MMA, and today I want to talk about a possible thing that Kamaru Usman said. Kamaru Usman came out on his podcast and said that Leon Edwards should move to the middleweight division, and he says because that there is a lot less grapplers up there, there's a lot more just pure strikers in the middleweight division. And I do think that this is a good idea, but we can get into this in the video a little bit later. If you guys enjoy the UFC content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. That is the best way to show support the channel, is hitting that subscribe button. And we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so please go down there and hit that subscribe button, considering that 97.2% of my viewers are not subscribed. So I know a lot of you guys can hit that subscribe button. But let's jump right into the video of why Leon Edwards should move up to the middleweight division. Okay, so recently on Kamaru Usman's podcast, he said that Leon Edwards should move up to the middleweight division because there is a lot less grapplers up there, and I do think that that is a very valid statement. Leon Edwards just got exposed by Belal Muhammad in the grappling department, and I just made a video about talking about how Leon Edwards' title reign was perceived to be a lot more impressive than it previously was, considering that he beat Kamaru Usman off a last-second head kick, and then he beat Kamaru Usman off a head kick, and Colby Covington, who really looked washed up inside the octagon. But Leon Edwards moving up to the UFC middleweight division, I genuinely think might be a good idea because of how big Leon Edwards is. Leon Edwards is a massive welterweight, and I think he's having a lot of trouble cut weight to the UFC, into that division, and it could be a reason of why he looks so sluggish inside the UFC octagon. And the other reason is that there's a lot less grapplers up in the UFC middleweight division, and that was actually Kamaru Usman's reason for saying that originally. But I do believe that there is a statement or a valid thought of moving up to the middleweight division for Leon Edwards. I think Leon Edwards' style is a lot different than someone like, I don't know, a Shavkat Rakhmonov, a Jack Della Maddalena. Leon didn't seem that strong on the feet, if you got what I'm saying. Belal just looked like he was throwing him around like a rag doll inside there. And there's two things that could happen at middleweight. One, he could be better off because there's less grapplers. Or two, he's going to get thrown around even more because of how much stronger they are and bigger they are going to be at middleweight. Do you imagine the size difference of Leon Edwards versus Paulo Costa at middleweight? Paulo Costa is weighing around 230 pounds outside the octagon. And someone like Leon Edwards definitely does not weigh that much, probably around 190 or 190 or 200. So that would be a massive weight discrepancy for Paulo Costa in that fight. But the other thing that I just genuinely think is really Leon Edwards' problem is the lack of killer instinct that he has inherited. Leon Edwards truly just doesn't have any sort of killer instinct inside the UFC octagon. A lot of these other fighters who are in there go for the finish whenever it is presented. Israel Adesanya has the killer instinct. Tom Aspinall has the killer instinct. Kamaru Usman has the killer instinct. A lot of these other fighters inside the UFC octagon have the killer instinct, and those were just a couple off the top of my head. I could name a lot more fighters inside the UFC octagon who have that killer instinct, but Leon Edwards just doesn't seem to possess it, and he goes through a lot of different decisions inside the UFC octagon. And after that Kamaru Usman knockout, it was perceived that his killer instinct was just amazing, that he understand his situation. But if you look at this Belal Muhammad fight, Leon Edwards was taking a nice siesta in that final round on top of Belal Muhammad before he started landing the elbows and had a little bit of a time to where he had no urgency inside the octagon. Leon Edwards doesn't have a second or third gear to get out of rather than just that first gear of that boxing, that pad work stage to where he looks absolutely perfect inside the octagon, and that's what he was trying to do against Belal Muhammad, but Belal went in there and made that fight dirty, and I think that is ultimately Leon's biggest issue, because if Leon fought someone like Shavkat Rakhmonov, there was no way but Leon would be able to win that fight, and that just solidified that performance against Belal Muhammad, because Shavkat's going to put pressure on him. Shavkat's going to do the exact same thing, but Shavkat's also a way better striker than Belal Muhammad. Someone like Jack Della Maddalena would be a favorable matchup. Someone like Ian Gary would be a favorable matchup because these are guys who will stand on the outside and not go in and grapple. But Gilbert Burns would defeat Leon. Sean Brady would defeat Leon. Kamaru Usman, I think, again, if he wasn't over the hill, would defeat Leon. And a lot of these other fighters inside the UFC welterweight division who have any lick of grappling are going to be able to go in there and throw Leon around, as it was shown by Belal Muhammad. I think really what Leon Edwards needs to do to ultimately revitalize his career and push back for the title is try to develop some sort of urgency rather inside the octagon. I don't think he should go up to the middleweight division because I think there's too much of a risk of those guys even being up there going into grapple. Someone like Robert Whittaker would grapple with him. Someone like Jared Cannonier, even though he's a striker, I think would grapple with Leon. I think someone like Marvin Vettori would grapple with Leon. Brandon Allen would grapple with Leon. There's a lot of guys up there who are just have a lot of IQ to understand that they are going to go in there and grapple with Leon Edwards rather than just standing up in the striking department where Leon is so dominant. But Leon's decisions over his career and that just lack of just knowledge just to go for the finish and a lack of just urgency is going to hurt him and is really catching up with him now. He looks like Cheeto Vera in some of these fights, but Cheeto possesses that killer instinct, whereas Leon just wants to ride the decision out and just make it the prettiest art performance that you've ever seen. Leon Edwards has an an aversion to adversity, which is something that I truly just think is really hindering Leon. If he understood that adversity is something that you have to overcome inside the octagon and not crumble upon it, I think Leon would be a lot better fighter and would be a lot more dominant inside the UFC. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fights is MMA, and please let me know what you think about the possible Leon Edwards move up to the UFC middleweight division. I do not think it's a great move up, even though I could definitely see a reason of why he could do so. I think there's too many risks of the grappling being up there. Unlike Kamaru Usman said, those fighters are smarter up there, and they're going to be a lot bigger than Leon Edwards, and if you thought Bilal Muhammad could drop Leon in his forehead, those fighters could definitely do so too. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fights is MMA, and please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you guys enjoy the UFC content. 97.2% of my viewers who watch my videos are not subscribed, so please go down there and hit that subscribe button. It is the best way to help me grow this channel. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and if you also want to stay updated with the latest MMA news and content, please go down there and turn on the post notifications, because that will always notify you when I release UFC content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys very soon with more UFC content and news.